Hello and welcome to Growing Through the Vents. My name is Anitra and this is my very first episode to my very first podcast. Well, kinda. It took me a while to actually sit down and record this, and to be transparent, I was supposed to post this by February 6th. And I recorded what I thought would be my final copy on April 10th, hence the kinda. And then my computer did this thing. So here we are, May 1st, but let's talk about it. I could use life has been lifing as the reason I haven't posted anything yet, because life has indeed been lifing, or the fact that I finally built my nerves up enough to record something I intended to post and my computer crashing before I could share it with you all. And now I have my computer back recording this new first episode, but y'all can hold me accountable and be like, but Anitra, how long has a podcast been in your intentions? And the truth is, I've sat down and pressed record numerous times between then and now. This is truly me stepping out of my comfort zone and letting go of control of who I am vulnerable with. And let's be honest, I have no control over who hears this. And that was really intimidating to me. It still kind of is. Originally, the concept behind this podcast was more intimate, right? It was more so to connect with my God babies, and being 29 with multiple godchildren, multiple nieces and nephews, and just a lot of people around me, I want them to understand that we're all really just going through the motions of this thing called life together. And because life do be lifing and there's not one book or way of life that we can all agree on, I wanted to create a safe space where vulnerability is welcome. Somewhere that understands that there will always be multiple perspectives, even if we're all looking at the same thing, and remind you that sometimes you gotta go through things a few times in order to get the growing points from it. I mean, at the end of the day, well, at least from my experience and the experiences of those around me, we're all just walking testimonies, meaning we all have or are going to have to go through different challenging situations. And from the bottom of my heart, no matter how much love and support you have behind you, you have to be the one to grow through it for you. I understand that sometimes the resources you have, including your family, your friends, your community, are not always the resources that you need. Now, I'm not saying that I will be either, but I'm saying that it's okay to step out of your comfort zone to get to your definition of success, as from my perspective, we all define it differently. As I was telling you guys earlier, recording this and posting this has been so difficult for me. Not only have there been distractions and even some growing pains the past few months, but it's been so hard for me to find any comfort in the discomforts of opening up to all of you, whoever you all may be. I keep trying to aim for the perfect episode where I'm confident in my voice and in what I'm saying, but that kind of defeats the purpose, right? Like, the foundation of this is to be a safe space, but how is anyone supposed to feel safe if you're not providing a safe space for yourself? It's that put your mask on first advice you get from the flight attendants. And they try to tell you at the beginning of the flight, but I tend to just stare out the window, ignoring that part, watching the people wave their orange signal things around on the ground. And that's where I need to listen a little bit more. That's where I'm learning to listen a little bit more. And that's where I'm learning to find comfort in my vulnerability. And that's been hard since before I ever knew it would be. You see, I grew up pretty unconventionally. Very blessed, but very unconventional. I have a big family and even greater extended family, which has allowed me to see multiple perspectives. And growing up with the diversity and adversity of the village, as I call my foundation of people, I really tried to learn and grow from the experience and knowledge of those around me, that I didn't even recognize that I had a toxic relationship with vulnerability. Don't get me wrong, I should have maybe recognized it a little earlier, but God's timing is always right. Reflecting back, I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression in elementary school. I also lived in a house full of older brothers. I'm saying like 17 people in our 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch home at like all times. And I'm not knocking anyone who has play brothers, because I got a couple of those too. But these ones in particular, when I say they're my brothers, I mean my brothers. I didn't ask for them. They all get on my nerves. And they knew, probably still know, I, as the baby, was going to tell mom and pops if it came down to it. But now I have multiple people to call for any advice and really any reason, no matter what the case may be. And a whole lot of love and support. So shout out to my one biological brother for expanding my village, and my parents for always supporting us in so many ways before I even ever had a choice in any of it, because, man, they've taught me a lot, and they still do. Now, don't let me hype them up too much. But if you can't tell already, they've played a major role in my life, which is why I bring them up in this first episode especially. Being at minimum 6 years younger than them, I was not within their shenanigans. But being the nosy little sister that I still love to be, I got to see a lot and hear a lot when they were teenagers and young adults especially. Now, I have always been really sweet and genuine and even pretty reserved. But if you were to ask them, they'd probably say, Nietzsche is a certified asshole. And indeed, I can be. However, it's because they know just because I'm really gentle-natured doesn't mean that I'm soft, right? It may also have to do with girls calling the house back in the day and me intentionally answering it, saying another girl's name. Or them being on the phone with a girl and again me saying, is that so-and-so? Tell her I said hi, knowing it wasn't so-and-so. It may be because I would call them out when they were having conversation amongst each other about their assholishness. And I wouldn't necessarily be so shy about it. But by the grace of God, thankfully, they've all grown so much and are wonderful men, husbands, fathers. But we all had to experience some growing pains in order to grow through it, right? You see, growing up, being the one on the couch in the living room, just trying to watch Laguna Beach as they walked out the girl that took them on a shopping spree and walked in the girl that was taking them wherever they were going to next. None of the girls knowing about each other, or if they did, having a problem with each other and not the situation, or even just leaving the house emotionally because they found out, but coming right back. I knew and I vowed I was not going to be that. I was not going to be naive to things based on how I felt or what I wanted. And don't get me wrong, as the little sister, I knew who they took serious and I knew who they just benefited from. I knew the runners from the wives, as they would call it, and the boys would tell me how vulnerable the ones that were not the ones were, which caused them to be perceived as naive. They would remind me that that's not the way to go. And therefore, my relationship with vulnerability became toxic before I could even know otherwise. Back in 2016 was the start to my first serious relationship. The first time I had ever been so vulnerable with someone. And we were together for like 4 years, moved out of state and back together, had wedding plans. It was serious, young, but serious. And early on, I realized I had trust issues. Not from my own relationship or experiences, but from how it often ended for most of the girls I watched walk in and out of my house growing up. After expressing it to the person that was my person for that period in my life, throughout the relationship, they made sure to give me the security and love that I needed and always went above and beyond to make sure I knew my value. Yet, when we broke up, I still felt the ick. The ick of being vulnerable with someone who was just as vulnerable with me, but because they ended up not being my forever person, I felt naive. I felt like I didn't want to care anymore. Like, how silly of me for loving someone so much just to end up here, hurt. And I was crying and venting to my brother on how I just wanted to say F the world. I don't want to care anymore. I'm just ready to be done. I'm ready to run away. And then he said, Chicha. Which is what my nieces and my nephews call me. So it brought me back to reality fairly quickly. He said, Chicha, you wear your heart on your sleeve. You don't let anything, anyone, or any situation change you from being you. And that's when I started to realize that I was so focused on not looking or feeling like one of those girls I saw growing up that I didn't understand my own vulnerability. I was more at war with my emotions than willing to understand them. And I had to recognize that vulnerability doesn't equal hurt. That being vulnerable doesn't mean you're undervaluing yourself. I have learned how people view your vulnerability is not your responsibility, but how you let people treat your vulnerability is. That all being said, I want to apologize to all of those girls, not on behalf of the boys, but on behalf of myself for viewing your vulnerability as negatively as I did. I understand how personalized each of our journeys are, and I hope you all have grown to understand your vulnerability more since those early 2000s days. I look forward to learning and understanding more about my own vulnerability as I continue this podcast, and hope you all can see the flowers unconventionally growing through the vents too while we grow through this beautiful life together. Hopefully I hear from you all too. I have a TikTok and an Instagram coming for anyone that wants to follow along at Growing Through the Vents, and maybe we can stay connected through there. It's a safe space and I'm open to different perspectives, and I may not have all the answers, but I'm willing to help figure them out with you. I'm going to go ahead and sign off from this episode, but first, thank you guys for spending some time with me today. Before I go, did you know the flower, Baby Blue Eyes, is the flower of vulnerability, symbolizing tender sensitivity, innocence, and trust? I love when you can find deeper meanings within life's simplicities. Y'all stay blessed. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.